Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I will be doing a very special video. I will be taking a political compass test to identify my political leans. Anyway guys, if you haven't noticed, I'm using VMaker and I've used Screencast before, but I like VMaker, so decided to give it a try. Anyway, that's not the point, but today we hit 40 subscribers. We're a day late, but it's alright guys. Our channel is growing. We're getting subscribers and almost every day, and I please encourage you guys to share with your friends and family. I really appreciate you guys' efforts to get me to 40 subs. And now our goal is to get to 50 subscribers by July 31st, which is 2 weeks from today. We don't have a lot of time. 2 weeks will fly by extremely quickly. So, as a matter, so for that reason, let's get to 50 subscribers by the end of this month. Anyway, guys, let's get into this. So please subscribe if you haven't. Anyway, so this is about just a few propositions to start with concerning no less how you see the country and the world. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Sorry guys if you hear my phone getting some weather alerts. It might rain out where I live. It's gonna rain probably later in the day. Anyway, but personally, I do not support economic globalization. I'm a protectionist, but if it's gonna happen at some point, then I definitely agree that it should serve the principles of humanity. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I would not. I'm proud to be an American. I like to be an American, but if I feel like we're doing something wrong, like if we're like hell, if we're making the crises worse, if we're like killing innocent people, then I would not support it, and as a fact, I would call it out. So, no one chooses their country birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I strongly disagree. I think every country is unique in one way or another, so I think people should be proud of it. But again, I'm not going to force this on anyone. These are my personal beliefs. Some of them I'm not going to force them on others. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. I disagree. I think everyone is equal. We're all equal no matter what. You could be black, Asian, white. We're all equal people. My enemy is my friend. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like you have two unlikely partners. Like two common enemies. If you got a common enemy, and even if you're an enemy of someone, you guys have to come together, forge a compromise, fight them off, and fend them off, and just you guys can go on your merry way. Military action defies international law is sometimes justified. I would say okay, but not all. If it's like always, then no. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Absolutely, we don't really have real news reporting anymore. You have just biased news stories, which are like just giving us some random stories. There's really no truth anymore in American politics, and it's all done because of the media. Anyway, guys, but I do watch independent media. If you guys watch like Secular Talk, I think that's the host of Kyle Kalinske. I think he's from a left wing populist perspective, so I think he perfectly aligns with me. And Kim Iverson, I think, who's a fully nonpartisan. So I watch some of her shows. And they're excellent. So if you guys want me to link her channel down below, I will certainly help. I will certainly do it. Now, this is where much of our economy comes from. We're talking about attitudes here, not the FTSE index. People are ultimately more divided by class than nationality. Yeah, absolutely. In America, we have like three classes. You have the poor, the working class, and the donor class. And you've seen it how the divides are getting sharper. You see the divides getting very much sharper. The donor class keeps getting richer and richer, while the poor and the working class keep getting poorer. The working class are suffering with their jobs being shipped away. So yes, you can see deep divisions, but I'll say the divisions are more than ever. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Um, Absolutely. I think, controlling, I think both of them are very, very bad for the economy, but but I'd rather suffer in this society with a little bit more inflation than having millions out of work. So I would disagree because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment. They require regulation. Yes, absolutely. We've seen a lot of corporations who much of them care about profit more than the environment. So if and plus, they're the ones that gain, we lose. So I think they need to be regulated, but I don't think they should be overboard. But at the same time, they shouldn't be deregulated or underregulated because we know deregulation doesn't work. Deregulation only makes things go out of control. Like when Ronald Reagan deregulated the healthcare industry, that's what caused our rising healthcare costs. From each according to his ability, each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. I personally think this. I personally got stumped on this. I thought this was like a communist manifesto. Thought this was like a good principle, but I realized it's. I looked it up and it was like some communist manifesto. So I disagree with it. The freer the market, the freer the people. This one's hard. I do support free markets. I'm a free market capitalist, but at the same time, if you got some predatory multinationals, or like if you got predator monopolies like Amazon or like Google, those are like that's like the search engine market. What I'm using is Microsoft, but I know plenty of people who use Google, so because of that, they really have like a stranglehold over the market. So I would disagree. If we really want a genuine free market, I think we need trust busting, which actually leads us to the question of like um, a genuine free market, but that's at the very last. It's a sad reflection that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. I strongly disagree. I don't really see what's wrong in bottled water. I mean, if it's like being thrown away in metric tons, then yes, that's bad. But it's mostly very convenient, very light. It's not like you can bring a bottle every time, or like you can bring a glass of water and stop at a fountain. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree. I mean, like land, like anything, can be sold. It's regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. By the way, I don't like how they say many, but well, like, but I'm assuming that they're assuming the very richest. So, like, yeah, like people like Jeff Bezos, they make millions. While he exploits numerous workers, and with the money he has, I think in fact he can pay his workers even more, like maybe $30. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Yeah, absolutely. Deals like the NAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership have devastated our jobs. This is why the industrial heartland is now distrustful of the Democratic Party, because Democrats like Bill Clinton, the new third way Democrats, are the ones that have been championing these trade deals, like the Democratic Republican establishment. But since it was signed under a Democratic president, the Democrats really get the blame for it. The only social responsibility should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I disagree. I think a company should also look to make the best consumer products that we can sell and get, and also look after its workers. The rich are too highly taxed. Again, I strongly disagree with that. The richest 400 families in 2018 paid a much lower tax rate than the working class, and it's probably one of the very few times that's happened in history. And I think if we keep doing this, we may be entering the second Gilded Age. Like where you have lots of big business influence, and that is very problematic. Those with the ability to pay should have higher end access to medical care. Personally, I think this is like a progressive structure. Like if you have more money, you can pay and you can afford it. Then by all means you can. You're free to do it. But since they're being very specific, like medical care, I disagree. I think healthcare is a human right, and people deserve the right to live. Except, if I had a healthcare plan, universal plan, I would not give it to like illegals, aliens, or like non-citizens. But those who are citizens legally paying taxes, I think they should have healthcare, the right to healthcare. Government should penalize businesses that mean mislead the public. Absolutely, they should. because it's like we need accountability in society. We have many of our politicians aren't held accountable for what they do. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals. Again, I strongly agree. I strongly agree, guys. It ties back to the same principle: the freer the market, the freer the people. That is not. But if you have like significant trust busting, if you make it much harder for the ability of monopolies to be created, then you have a genuine free market, which where people can buy different types of products from different sellers. Now look to now this is a lot of this determines your social stances, like where you stand, authoritarian or social libertarian. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Yeah, it should. I think in my eyes, it feels like murder and just a waste of like a loss of human life. All authority should be questioned. I disagree with that. Like it doesn't make sense to like you wouldn't question your parents' authority. You won't question your teachers and principals' authority over you, right? You're not going to be able to do it, right? Um, when a tutor assigns you work, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm not going to do the work." You can't challenge that. I mean, you can kind of challenge some authority, but like if people just do it without your permission. But if you give permission, if you have a leader and you chose that leader has authority. It's like a basketball team captain has the authority to pick whoever he wants and has the authority to tell you what you want to play. You can't question that. If you don't like it, you just have to leave. An eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. I strongly agree with that. It's the same principle of karma. When you do something wrong and try to hide it, karma will come back right at you. Like if you hit someone, you tell your parents you didn't, but they do. The other person comes and say you did, and with evidence, and you get punished. That's karma because you lied. Because you lied to your parents. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Absolutely, it's not us taxpayers' job to bail out something that is going to fail on its own, right? I don't know why it would fail due to their own ineptitude or negligence, but if that happens, then why are we supposed to take the burden on that? That's not our job. It's a waste of taxpayer money. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I know a lot of you guys will scream at me. I strongly disagree with it. I think school is the most quintessential thing that we can ever have in society. Well, I think different forms of school will eventually overtake traditional school, but I think until for the time being, I think school is very important, and the reason why we have much lower crime rates is now more people are educated. If we think about Horace Mann in like the 1830s, why did he want kids to go to school? Because back then they had a lot of society problems like alcoholism, like domestic abuse, violence, poverty, crime. Horace Mann didn't want to see that, so he wanted to try to make sure maximum number of kids get the education. And he was like the spearhead of like getting kids educated in public schools. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. I stumbled on this once, but I disagree. I think, if you want to associate, if you want to publicly declare that you associate with someone or associate with a group, by all means, you should have the right to do it. Good parents have to sometimes spank their kids. I've seen arguments for spanking, it gives the kid better discipline, while I've heard arguments against saying, it psychologically ruins it, and it's like not good for them psychologically, but I would side with the against, I don't think spanking really does anything, it just only makes it worse. I think there's much for better, more rational ways to handle a kid who's out of control. There's more rational ways to do it. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Yeah, let me say, so I mean, I understand, why. I mean, personally, I do not believe in keeping secrets, but since but it's natural. Sometimes we kids may have things that we don't want to tell our parents, like if it's something very personal, we are humans, we're not always going to tell everyone everything, right? Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I'm in the middle. Personally, I oppose marijuana usage, but I would just have to say agree because even if you outlaw it, like, what's the point, right? What's the point? Even if you outlaw it, right? Is it like gonna really stop the usage? No, right? People are still gonna use it no matter what. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Absolutely. If like a kid wants to go to like a field like engineering, whatever school they go to, the school should have the resources to like equip the kids, equip the engineering kids to their future. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. I disagree with that. It's like it's just mean, like no matter how serious the disability, I cannot. It's like who am I to tell? Oh, you can't reproduce because you got some issues with you got some disabilities. That's just clearly false. I was born with disabilities, but now I'm totally fine. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Yeah, absolutely. You cannot if you don't have the discipline, you will not be able to succeed in society. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Yeah. Well, there are savage people. I disagree with the fact that there are no savage peoples. There are savage people like rapists, murderers, mass murderers. But since it says different cultures, I do agree. But I don't agree with it. So it's like a split. I would say split, but overall, I would agree. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society support. Absolutely. It's like if I was a governor or president, I would try to make a society more equitable for everyone. And those who just don't like me or try to just refuse the opportunities I'm giving them with open arms, by all means, I'm not going to help them. When you're troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I disagree with that. Um, Whenever you have a problem, you can't just run away from the problem because you're going to have to face it eventually. And running away from problems makes this problem even worse. So you have to try to solve the problem first. Like, get help. Like, not get help in like mentally, but like just get help with the problem. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I strongly disagree. I can say never is an extreme word. Like I'm the son of Indian immigrants who came from India, and my dad could speak perfect English. He speaks perfect English, so I think it's just very wrong. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. I strongly disagree with that. Something that's good for Amazon may not be beneficial to us. Like so, if, like Amazon throws away like a good computer, that's good for them because they maximize their profits. But it's worse for us because there's so many needy people who could have a good use of it and use a computer and help them study. But so that's a detriment to them. But it's good for Mr. Amazon. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. I strongly agree. Um, I'm not saying we should defund the networks, but we'll force the networks to actually bring in real news, like real objective news stories. We're almost done, guys. We're on the fourth page. How we see wider society. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I won't say disagree or strongly disagree. It's either agree or strongly agree, but I would agree because the word excessively, I feel like, is um kind of like big, in big language, but I would say they are being curbed, like to terrorize, to counter terrorize. They are being curbed, but I don't think excessive is the right word. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in the democratic political system. Let me tell you this, guys. I personally do not advocate for totalitarianism. I think it's bad. People suffer but you have lots of authoritarian governments like China, Singapore. They're pretty authoritarian. North Korea, but still. But since it's like saying an advantage, well, they're not asking us to like say, "Oh, do you support a dictatorship?" Absolutely not. But I would say agree because they're saying that that's an advantage of a one-party state. But But again, like no one in America is going to advocate for that. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Yes, absolutely. Just don't break the law. If you don't break the law, you're fine. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Personally, I do kind of oppose it, but if you have like very serious crimes like murder, mass murdering, I think the death penalty should be considered. But again, I think rather than the way they do it currently, like injecting lethal substances into someone, or suffocating them, I think there are more humane ways. But nonetheless, I strongly agree. But I think the death penalty should be administered in a more humane way, not like guillotining or like putting lethal injections, because that is just another form of murder. Putting lethal injections in someone. In a civilized society, one must always have people to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I strongly agree with that. Just take a look at my house. My parents are like, I have to obey my parents no matter what. I think occasionally I can call it out and say it's wrong, but really I don't. I really have much of a say. So I'm already used to that kind of setup because I have it at home. So, but again, my parents aren't bad. They're not acting in bad faith. And a lot of my videos comes from you guys. Where you guys tell me what I should make. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. This one is hard, but I would say I would strongly agree with it. I'm a big fan of art. I did art. I liked color when I was a kid, and I'm very good at coloring inside the lines. But if you're just gonna take a piece of paper, just scribble all over it, like how can you call it art? Or if we just do some easy thing, how's that anything good? Like if you're not an artist, maybe that could be good, but if you can do it, if everyone could do the most basic thing, that's really not art. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important. No, I don't think so. I think if it's like a crime like theft or like if it's like a minor crime, then I think they should try to be rehabilitated first, rather than trying to make them suffer. But I think plus you're already if you're like telling them to be like 14 days in jail, that's already a punishment. That's already a punishment for the crime. So to further punish someone for like doing a small crime, like something small, stealing, I mean, it depends on what they steal, but if it's like a very minor thing, then like it's really not worth to punish. It makes the suffering worse. So I think they should be rehabilitated and given a chance again. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Yeah, if like people like rapists, mass murderers, savage people, you really can't rehabilitate them no matter how much you try. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, guys. Someone now came to my house. I had to answer them and talk to them. So sorry, guys, with a couple of interruptions. Anyway, the next one: the business person and manufacturer are more important than the writer and artist. Personally speaking, yeah, they are very important to society. But like they are the ones that makes our goods, and a lot of the goods that we have, like computer manufacturers, like what we have, how we have our computer. That's how we make our elections. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I had to go check my dad's room and see if he was calling me. So many distractions for me, guys, today, but I had to do this video today. Anyway, so how long is this video? 24. Oh, this is getting kind of long. Alright. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Personally, I think a mom. It depends, but I think when the mothers do not have a career, like let's say my mother, for example, I think they should care for their kids. So I would agree, but I think if they do have a career, I think they can have a career and maybe do their office work, but at least the times they're not working or off work, they should try to care for their kids. I think both the mom and the dad have a role to play in the development of a child. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant's genetic resources. Absolutely. and you can see it's coming to back bite them. Like, you see how many first world countries like Germany and France, Germany and Belgium, they exploited resources from developing nations, and they paid the price with heavy rain and floods, which is even further warning that global warming is happening in much stronger force than we think. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I don't know what establishment they're talking about, but typically when you hear establishment, typically they usually mention the political establishment. So I would disagree. You should never don't cave into the establishment, or else that just makes you a fake progressive. Like AOC, she's considered progressive, like a democratic socialist, but a lot of the time she does fall in line with the establishment. So I don't think she's really a left wing progressive. If we got through that, okay, he'll find our propositions on religion and breeze. Astrology accurately explains many things. Again, I think I would have to disagree on it. I don't really know astrology that much. I don't study it, so if you guys do know what astrology, please let me know if you guys know what it is, and let me know in the comments below. All right, you cannot be moral without being religious. I disagree. I think and you don't need to be religious to be moral. Like, I know a lot of atheists who are very moral, and a lot of scientists are atheists as well. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Personally, I do think that charity. When you do charity, you kind of feel better about yourself than like social security. But again, social security is like one of our most loved social programs in America. So because no one wants that, and very few Americans want social security cuts. I would disagree, but I think we should have both charity and social security at the same time. I think we should. Some people are naturally unlucky. Yeah, I totally agree. Some people are. Sometimes people are born into unfortunate situations, like kids being born in war-torn countries. Like that thing that they cannot really avoid. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Again, guys, I think this is like priorities. Like, personally, for me, I would like want my child to get a normal education, and I would teach my own religion, teach my religion to myself. But like many Hindu books, I would teach to my children on my own. But it depends on priority. I think maybe you can like talk a little bit about the Bible in like English class, but not try to force Christianity on anyone. So I would agree. So that maybe kids get see it of what other religions are like. But again, they should not like be forcing kids to convert to Christianity. But again, it's priority, so I would agree. Although I would want my kids to get a normal education. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Yeah, I believe in the traditional principle marriage between a man and a woman, but again, I'm not going to force this on anyone. I'll fight for LGBTQ rights, but this is what I personally believe. Guys, this is like not a test on like what am I going to go on the campaign trail and rail against that. I'm not going to, but personally, believe speaking, I do believe it. It is immoral. Same-sex couple in a loving stage relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. I disagree. It's the kind of like the same thing about the inheritable disabilities. It's just mean, like to say, oh, you can't have a child because you're gay, you're lesbian, or you're bisexual. That's just wrong. It's like, who am I to tell you, oh, you can't have a kid because your sexual orientation is like this. You know. So I would disagree. And plus, in inner cities, many kids don't have fathers. So if the same-sex couple is in a stable, loving relationship, they should have the possibility to adopt a child. Porn depicting consulting adults should be legal. No. Porn has been torn out many families, and it's just very dangerous. It's more dangerous than cocaine or like marijuana. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I would say no is not the right word, but I would strongly disagree, because if something is going very bad in the bedroom, like abuse, domestic violence, or like any other bad thing, even if they're consenting adults, then then usually the police has to come in there to like solve the problem. So I'll strongly disagree. But if it's like sex and everything is normal, then it's no business of the state. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Again, I disagree. I disagree, but although it's like you can't say, oh, you're a different sex, like let's say I'm a let's say I'm the Indian Premier League, which is like India's most premier cricket league, and I'm a fan of the Mumbai Indians. I can't wake up the next day and say, oh, I'm a Kolkata Knight Riders fan. I can't say that. So again, that would kind of feel that way, but at the same time, no. I think people should have the right to declare if they're homosexual. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I think, yeah, how the Democratic Party tried to prop up Pete Buttigieg as this moderate LGBTQ candidate who can actually appeal to the LGBTQ community. So the Democrats wanted to prop him like kind of like another Joe Biden. If Joe Biden faltered, he would be like he would have been a great alternative. Anyway, guys, let's take a look at where I stand. Check it out, guys. I'm actually -4. Economic left, right. I'm at -4, but social libertarian authoritarian at 2.15. So that actually means I'm on the authoritarian left. I think this is the rarest quadrant. Let's see how I compare to the mainstream Democrats. I think this video, guys, is like 30 minutes long. So please, guys, if you can bear with me, I'm sorry. But it's just a lot to go through. Let's open this a new tab. So this is Biden and Trump. Yeah, I feel kind of very surprising how Trump is almost as Biden's almost as right wing as Trump. Just maybe slightly down, but still very right economically. So if you see this is where a lot of the mainstream just look at the sheer number of politicians in the authoritarian right. Even Warren, who's considered like a progressive, is on the authoritarian right. You have only like 4 politicians on the authoritarian left. On the libertarian left, you have Howie Hawkins, I think, who's the most left wing. So I'm slightly to the right of Hawkins, like right here. Like I'm like right here. So you have Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is probably like the most libertarian out of all of them. Like I think Jorgensen's the most libertarian, but Gabbard, I think, is the second most libertarian. Like she and Marianne Williamson are almost as libertarian, instead, almost as libertarian, like Mike Gravel, who the Gravel Institute is named after. But there's really not, despite what you guys hear in the news, that there's a lot of Democrat for left versus right. But you really, if you take a look at this, many of them, many the Democrats and Republicans are very very similar in modern politics. Like even people as people who paint Bernie Sanders as a communist, barely squeaked his way. I'm even more left wing than Sanders economically, which is actually quite impressive. But again, there's no politician that's actually in the authoritarian left. So I'm like, I think it's the rarest quadrant, in American politics that I got authoritarian left. I think the most recent one I know of is Lyndon B. Johnson, who was on the authoritarian left. Anyway, guys, and even Jay Inslee, even Pete Buttigieg, he's pretty hard right economically. George Jorgensen is like the most right out of all of them. Like Pence and Larry Hogan. So, anyway, guys, that is it for today's video. I'm sorry, guys, this one was very, very long, but this one is a special video. So, did this share instead? Oh, I don't think, guys, it shared. So, I'm sorry, guys, that this might have not shared. So, if it did, I'll just repeat myself again. Guys, I lost my voice after speaking for more than 30 minutes, but anyway, you can see a lot of the mainstream politicians, they're very similar, even you see a lot of shouting and name calling that, that you see a lot of shouting and name calling, that Democrat versus Republican, right versus left. But really, if you take a look at even Yang, where is he at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yang is at 7, 1. So that means he's actually pretty right wing economically. Andrew Yang, he's pretty right wing. Yeah, you see a lot of the mainstream, but you have Marianne Williamson and Joe Jorgensen are on the libertarian right. Like, I don't think even Joe Jorgensen's that much to the right either. And then you have Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard, who are about the same. Maybe Gabbard a little bit more right wing than Sanders economic, a little more to the right of Sanders. But anyway, guys, so I got the rarest quadrant in American politics, actually. So, oh no, guys, what happened? I have to zoom in. Here we go, guys. So, guys, this is where I stand. So, if you guys like today's video, please put a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. More content is to come. I will try to find availability and upload it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Political predictions